to WTF, What the Fright, a podcast where horror/thriller movies that you may love or hate get sliced and diced. We gash these movies open from beginning to end, as well as just having a good time while talking about these movies. Each week, Buddy and Kayla will choose a movie that puts the fright in them. So get your jammy jams and cuddle with your blanket because you're in for a fright. I'm your host, Buddy, and it's my wife.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
So today we have a very, very, very divisible, controversial, what the fuck is this movie, in my opinion. Today we are going to be fully going through and analyzing Halloween Ends. I will say before, there are people that love this movie. There are people that hate this movie.
Very much.
I don't love this movie. I don't absolutely hate this movie. The ideas and stuff that they had for this movie definitely could have worked, but I feel like we'll get into it more. But this is the finale in a trilogy. My biggest problem with this movie is why was Laurie and Michael not the center point? Why were they not, like, obviously from these past two movies we've covered that Laurie was never Michael's intended target or his obsession or anything. But why not have them? Because I'll say this: the movie got way too marketed in it being like Laurie. Before the movie came out, it was Laurie and Michael going head to head the whole time. They never revealed in the trailer. I believe Corey was in the trailer, but they never revealed that. Obviously, why would you reveal that Corey is?
So you think it was false advertisement?
It was very much so false advertisement. I think even in New York Square or whatever it's called, I think they had the whole poster or whatever up, and it showed Michael on one side and Laurie on one side. It's good versus evil or evil versus evil, however you want to interpret that, but. It's not a bad movie. It's definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen. But this definitely it ranks low. For after rewatching this time, taking notes and everything.
Yeah.
It definitely ranks lower for me. I don't know about you. What are your thoughts on the movie after I just rambled for?
This is my favorite.
In the whole franchise, please.
No, not in the whole entire franchise.
Are you talking about in this trilogy?
Yes, in this.
Okay, I can live with that. I can live with that.
I and so many others have been waiting for this moment. But first, let's get into the cast, shall we?
You don't even want to elaborate, huh? All right, so in the cast we got we have our returning characters are Laurie, Jamie Lee Curtis, Allison. Hey, look, she has a picture this time. James Jude Courtney as the shape.
Does.
Will Patton is Frank, and then Lindsay, who is played by Kyle Richards, but she's really doesn't even matter in this movie. Laurie barely matters in this movie. Allison is definitely more important in this movie. But we have our newcomer, Rohan Campbell, as Corey.
Oh, good old Mr. Campbell.
I said I do not. Corey is the main character of this movie. He is the glue that keeps this movie to. No, he's not the glue that keeps this movie together. But he is the main character, and I'm not mad about.
I do think he holds a good chunk of this movie.
Well, no shit, because he is the only character in the movie that he eats up all the screen time. He has more screen time.
Someone's bitter.
I'm not bitter.
Oh, you are so bitter.
I'm only bitter because it's Halloween Ends. Look at this little picture right here. It's marketed as Michael versus Laurie. The most interesting part of this movie to me. Okay, I'll take that back. The whole movie, in a sense, is interesting if you're just looking at it as a casual horror fan. Which is, I think that's what you are more.
I have a thought.
We haven't even got through the cast.
No, but I think, Jamie Lee Curtis, because whenever she just, didn't she make some kind of agreement if she was going to make another one?
Well, yeah,
Michael
for sure.
has to die.
Yeah, that was...
So I think that Jamie Lee Curtis and we need to do some research.
No, I can tell you. What do you need to know?
I think Jamie Lee Curtis had a big say in how the movie was made, like the plot and everything,
I wouldn't.
because of burnout.
Well, that's possible, but I don't think I would probably say that she didn't have, like, obviously she put her input in of wanting Michael to be killed. That was her problem 20 years ago.
Because this isn't is this the only franchise she was in?
No, she's 20 years ago when they did Halloween 20 years later.
Uh huh.
She obviously in that movie it looks like they kill Michael. But if she was obligated,
She had a son.
she was contracted for Halloween Resurrection, and she hates Halloween Resurrection because basically it was a spit in the face to her, because she didn't get to kill Michael like she actually thought,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was her whole frustration with it. And then whenever they started doing this one, you know, it's 40 years from 78. Like obviously, yeah, she definitely probably had input of her wanting to kill Michael, obviously, because that was her original plan 20 years ago, until they stepped in and were like, hey, we can't really kill Michael, which that was Mustafa Akkad. Hey, you can't. He's the person who actually had the rights to Halloween. It's like, hey, you can't kill Michael. So they wrote in basically like, hey, you know, Michael is dead, but he's not. And then,
Yeah.
so obviously, yeah, she definitely had frustration with that. But I don't think maybe this is the movie. This way I would see it. For if I was her, it's not the movie I wanted, but it's the conclusion that
I think
got.
it was just because Jamie Lee Curtis was just tired. I think that they wanted it to have like a quick resolve. They wanted the plot to move along, which watching the movie, the plot was moving along pretty quickly, I think. You know, because
There's a lot. There's a lot that happens. There was times where I had to pause the movie so I could take down some notes.
right.
But there's just so much that they tried to cram into it. But continue.
That's what I'm saying. I think that they moved it at a faster pace than normal, and that's how it was set up the way it was. Jamie Lee Curtis was tired. She just wanted to get it done and over with. I honestly feel like this was a movie that was a get it done and over with kind of thing. Which is why I also think that is why you feel so unsatisfied, along with Michael not having quite a lot of screen time. But let's come back to that. We have the cast pulled up here on the screen.
Okay, we got the Will Pat. Then we got. Honestly, I thought that one of the officers from from Kills was this guy, but he's not. He's he's just some other officer, and he looks old as balls.
Yeah, click on his picture.
He looks
a lot.
He looks younger in this picture. Maybe it's just the grain of the film because he looked old as shit.
I think it's also his hair being slicked the way it was.
He looked old as shit.
Oh. We got a Jesse C. Boyd black and white picture over here doing a push-up, no shirt, with the cigarette in his mouth.
Yeah, he looks really great. And then we have the bully band kids, which I guess this is this generation's. Margot was the redhead. Then you had Billy. He was the dude with the drumsticks and the fucked up haircut.
Oh, the band camp losers.
Yes. The band camp losers. No, you're fine. And then we have I don't know who the fuck Joan is. We have Nurse Deb, which she's the one.
Joan was Corey's mom.
Was it Corey's mom?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. She was such a bitch. Pardon my French.
Bro, she had some shit.
She had some issues. Like
she had some. She's like bipolar. She
has some issues. Okay, then we have Nurse Deb, which is the one that was fucking the doctor.
Oh, bro.
She's annoying. She was annoying, and she talked way too damn much.
Oh, I know.
I was happy when Allison.
She got what was coming to her.
I was happy when Allison snapped and was like, "You talk too much." We have Whitley the Kid, which was the DJ.
King Karan.
Which is the DJ at the radio station. He's an asshole too. And I said we got Lindsay, we got Dr. Mathis. I just call him Doctor in all my notes. He's old as shit. We got the little shithead kid, Jeremy
Jackson Goldenberg.
Little shithead. Then we have Sandra. She was a returning character.
Miss Diva Tyler.
Diana Prince. She's actually Okay, she has images. Oh.
Oh. Oh.
Oh.
Okay. Well, Miss Diana Prince and has nude video celebrity Diana Prince. Interesting.
Anyways, she is the receptionist at the radio, the DJ place. And then we have Terry's father. Terry's the main bully. We have Sheriff Barker. He's only in this in like the last scene.
Yep.
Julian shows up in the last scene. You see him like walking down the road whenever the whole town's going to the mechanic shop, the junkyard. And then we have Nick Castle, which
Julian is
he's the little shithead kid in 18.
Yeah, the original two or that from the first one. She was babysitting.
Mhm.
She had the druggy boyfriend. I say he was a druggy boyfriend.
Then we have Nick Castle as a Flasher, which is Nick Castle is the OG Michael Myers, and in this one, he's called the Flasher, and the other two
What's the difference? Shadow versus Flasher.
because he's at the Halloween party and he flashes Corey, and he has like a heart and like ribs or whatever, like organs and stuff. Like he's like his body is like the anatomy or whatever. And then
Interesting. Well, that's cool.
Terry's the main dude. Stacy, Ronald, yeah, a bunch of these other people don't even matter. Yeah, just cops and stuff and everything like that.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to get into this movie? Do you want to get into this movie? No.
Let's get into this movie.
Fuck me.
Yeah.
Let me take a sip of my peppermint coffee before I dish. There's gonna be points whenever I'm doing this and everything. I wrote some stuff down while I was doing it, but there's gonna be points where I'm gonna shit on something that I might say. Meaning I'm gonna shit on this movie. Like I said, I don't hate this.
I think you earned it.
I earned it.
I think so because you are a die-hard fan of anything Michael Myers through and through. You loved all the franchises.
I still like. I love the whole franchise.
You have that right.
See,
Shit
but,
on one of the
earlier,
movies.
what I was saying earlier is I was thinking about this whenever I was at work this week. I think you are obviously you have to watch horror movies mostly because of me.
Right.
And Scream is your favorite horror franchise.
Die-hard fan.
Die-hard. But I think you're more of a casual fan versus me being more of like a true, no, I wouldn't say true horror fan because obviously there's a bunch of horror movies I haven't seen, but I am
not as knowledgeable as you when it comes to movies.
But I am like, I'm definitely a die-hard horror fan.
I am a casual. I am. I'm just a casual
and so I think that's
movie watcher.
I think that's why you appreciate Ends more than I do.
Yeah, and I'm a casual movie watcher with anything, unless if it's The Big Bang Theory.
Okay, let's TV show. If we're talking TV show, Supernatural is the best TV show ever made.
That's also a good TV show. So let's scroll down and we can look at some of the ratings.
So Kayla brought this up. We'll talk about the ratings whenever we actually rate the movie later. But she said something about reading some reviews. So we actually have 3 reviews right here. Review from Variety, Real Views, and Time Out Magazine. So from Variety, Halloween Ends doesn't finish off the franchise by being the most scary or fun entry in the series. I would definitely agree. In parentheses, it says it should have been both, but it's neither. Close parentheses. Agreed. Instead, it's the most joyless, metaphorical, and convoluted entry.
Joylessly.
What did I say?
Joyless. It's okay. Sometimes you read faster than what your mouth.
And yeah, I would definitely agree with Variety. Would you like to read the next one?
Oh my gosh, it's the most joylessly metaphorical and convoluted.
It is very convoluted. You cannot say that it's not convoluted because even whenever stuff's happening in the movie, you're looking at me like, what?
So, it is very.
It
kind of gives me like Thorn vibes.
The story itself is very interesting. I won't take that from it, but the whole idea of the story is that of this trilogy is that Michael is evil, and then leading into this third movie is in a sense treating Michael like a virus, COVID in a way, which is the way they kind of wanted to make this movie.
Because he's contagious.
And we see that in this movie.
Evil is contagious.
Yeah, and even Laurie's closing statement is we'll get to that. But anyways, would you like to read from Real Views?
Yeah, Real Views has kindly posted. Although although Halloween Ends is a better than serviceable slasher film, its old school approach to horror might feel dated in comparison to the flow of new, more intricately plotted films in Hollywood's post-pandemic pipeline. Thoughts?
So the old school approach to horror, like I definitely.
You want to explain what that is? I could use some knowledge right now. Old school approach to horror films.
Well, there you got to think. There's some horror films that are kind of like this. There's more story driven than they are just like kill, kill, kill. And I can't like name you off the top of my head or anyway like that or anything like that. But it's so take it for instance, like I don't know. When I think of old school horror, obviously I'm more of a slasher type of person. So I would think like like the Halloween movie, the older Halloween movies, or even the older Friday the 13th movies, or maybe even Nightmare on Elm Street. But
Ghostface.
well, Ghostface was in the 90s. I wouldn't. Ghostface was like 96. Scream.
So
I wouldn't.
you're looking for later.
I would say later. There's definitely other movies and other things, even like maybe like
Leprechaun.
Candyman or anything like that. I will definitely say that it was definitely it does have like an older feel to it. Even like some points in the movie, like the grain of the camera. I don't know. I guess maybe after watching like Terrifier 3 and like them having low budget and like me just getting that 80s like slasher vibe from it, it just makes like I can definitely like see that kind of like I don't know what I'm trying to say. We have another review from Time Out magazine. It's just got enough fresh ideas, laughs, mostly intentional, and queasy jump scares to make for a ruckus Friday night at the movies. See, if I saw this, we didn't see this in movies. If I saw this in movie theaters, I would honestly maybe appreciate this movie more.
We saw this in movie theaters.
No, we didn't. We saw this on Peacock in our bedroom when it first came out. We didn't see this.
Did this not make it to theaters?
No, it did, but cause during the time of the pandemic, they were releasing movies in theaters and at home.
Oh.
So people could watch movies at home instead of having to go to theaters.
That's right. This was in 2022. Oh
Yes.
yeah. That was like towards the end of the pandemic.
Yeah, but it's still.
Man.
So, all right. Now that we got that done,
let's get into it.
let's dish.
Let's
All right,
dish,
so our
yes.
movie opens up with the Midnight Monster song, like in the background. That's music, and we do see blue font. You don't know this, but even the blue font here, and then later when they do the opening title card, they use the blue font again. They use blue font. They use the blue font that you see in Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
Interesting.
So it's a homage to Halloween 3.
Interesting.
So yeah. And then it's Halloween night 2019, which is a year after 18 and Kills. So this movie starts out a year after 18 and Kills. We meet Corey riding his bike to go babysit because the baby's something about Jeremy's babysitter. No one cares. She's not in the movie, so it's not important. Maybe Corey could have killed her. I don't know. Did he? No, he didn't. No, the am I already confusing you by saying a bunch of shit?
Yes. What? First off, Michael at this point has gone into hiding.
Michael, we'll get there. Michael is non-existent at this point.
Yeah, so he's gone into hiding.
Yes, we'll get to that. So the Jeremy's parents are going to a Halloween party, and then we meet this. I already wrote early on because I already knew this kid was a little shit. I said Jeremy is a little shithead kid that Corey has to babysit. That's funny. Fucking kids in Haddonfield, they're little shitheads. The party is right down the street where the parents are going. The kid wants Corey to teach him how to build a bomber airplane because the kid already built a paper airplane. Yeah, he wants him to teach him how to make a bomber paper airplane. Um, Corey finds out that Jeremy is afraid of the dark because of all the Michael Myers stuff and everything that happened last year.
Yeah, his mom pulled him aside just to kind of give him like a rundown on how,
Correct.
yeah, little Jeremy
And then
was doing.
his mom said no TV, no candy.
As long as he's in bed by 8:30, 8:45, you're peachy.
And then so the parents leave, and then immediately um Corey and Jeremy are watching The Thing on TV, which is a movie we're gonna do. I've never actually seen the original Thing. I believe I've seen the remake of The Thing, but The Thing is actually made by John Carpenter, which is the person that helped obviously compose the music for Halloween, made the original. So, nice.
It's gonna be interesting.
Um, so I thought it was funny. They're immediately watching a horror movie, and Corey's like, "Hey, do we need to like turn this off or whatever?" He's like, "Hey, maybe we need to turn." It's like, "I don't want to turn this off." It's like, "I want to watch the movie." And the kid's being a shithead tells Corey that he's scared because Michael Myers is still out there. Like the kid's trying to scare Corey and be like, "Yeah, Michael Myers is still out there and everything."
So it is, well, we can definitely say that Jeremy was not put to bed at 8:30.
Yeah, no, he was put to bed forever here in a little bit.
Oh my god,
Jesus.
babe.
I'm sorry.
That's horrible.
So the kid,
Oh my
the kid
god.
is an asshole. Tells Corey he's an ugly ass boy babysitter. Like he's literally sitting there talking shit to Corey. And he's like, I'm not. Basically, he's like, I'm not gonna listen to some ugly ass babysitter like you. And then Corey, uh, basically tells him to fuck off. And then Corey's going into the kitchen. He was gonna grab a beer, but he grabs the chalky milk. He grabs that chocolate milk, and then he was gonna get a piece of cake that was there. There's a knife right there. He hears a thud, goes to check on the kid. There's a lamp on the ground, and Jeremy is nowhere to be found. The front door is open. Corey goes outside to check because he thinks the kid's playing hide and seek or whatever. Because they did mention about maybe playing hide and seek. Hears a door slam. He runs downstairs because Corey's walking upstairs and he hears the door slam and he runs back downstairs. And then we see where the cake was at. The knife is gone. And then Corey starts going back up the stairs, and he hears screaming, and Corey hears the kid yelling for help, and then he finds the knife on the stairs. And he picks it up and goes into the attic looking for the kid, and it's dark inside there, and then the door slams in the because the kid closed it on him. Honestly, at this point, I thought like when I first saw this movie, I was like, okay, Michael's here in this house.
I remember thinking the same thing too. I'm like, wow, that didn't bounce, that bounced back. Like he bounced back quick
Like I would have
after getting like gang banged and shot up and stuff.
right, but like at this point, I was like, Michael's back. All right, good. Corey is just basically opening kill, and so is this kid probably. But unfortunately, it's not what happens. The kid slams the door and closes it, and then he's telling Corey, he's like, Michael's gonna get you, Corey. He's like, I'm gonna, and then he's like, Michael's gonna get you. Michael's gonna get you. And Corey is
Taunting him, basically.
yeah. Corey's like, he's like, all right, man, you made your point, real funny. He's like, let me out of here. And then the kid's just still like you said, taunting him, talking shit. And then Corey's like, he's like, I'm gonna kill you. And then he's like, let me out of here, let me out. He's like, I'm gonna kill you.
Right as the parents
And then as soon as the
walking in,
parents walk in,
his parents were like hearing him like screaming.
yeah, they were hearing
at
Corey
Jeremy.
scream at Jeremy, and then Corey kicks the door open, and this dumbass kid was literally standing right behind the door, and Corey kicks it, and the kid goes off the rails because it's like a 3-story house.
Yeah, the door ends up hitting Jeremy.
And
like,
then
straight in
Jeremy
the
goes
face.
fucking scorpion
Ugh.
on the ground, and Jeremy is dead.
Dropped from 3 stories.
Right, and he landed scorpion style.
Oh my god. That was the hardest part to watch of this movie.
I disagree. The ending's the hardest part for me. I'm
But-
not saying to like I'm not saying what happened to the kid is good or anything, but this kid's a little shit.
Yeah, but
He did it to himself for standing behind the door.
he really did.
Okay, well,
I felt so
we
bad.
don't want the kid to die, obviously, but like,
I
damn,
know.
have some common sense. He must have been he must have been living in Halloween Kills era or movie
Must have been.
because they like no common sense. And then the mom's like, "What have you done?" And then we get the opening theme. We get the opening title screen and everything, and it's the blue lettering again. And then there's like all these like little crazy pumpkins popping up while they're like showing all the names of people and everything. And then
You know, I always admired how they like the graphics that they do with like the pumpkins and stuff. Because if you notice that some of them in some of the franchise movies of this, um, some of the pumpkins during like the intro, they show them like decaying, and then some of them, some of the other movies watch the pumpkin like go in reverse from decaying back to alive.
I think I know what you're talking about. I just can't remember which one it is for some
But
reason.
and it's always pumpkin themed too.
Yeah, because it's Halloween. Well, if you think of Halloween, what do you think of a pumpkin? Obviously,
Yeah, but I'm just saying I just thought how it was cool.
one of my favorites is even though the movie isn't that great. One of
Halloween Kills didn't happen on. Oh yeah, it did.
yeah, it did. It was a
Yeah, it
continuation
did.
of 18.
Yeah. It did.
One of my favorite. I know we gotta get going through this movie, but one of my favorite openings and title screens is Halloween 5, because like someone's like sitting there like stabbing the pumpkin and like carving it out and everything with a butcher knife, and it's like all dark and everything. That one's pretty cool. I like that one. And then so after the title screen, we get flashback scenes from 78. Laurie is basically recapping all the events of what happened from 1978, all the events of 18, and all the events from Kills. It's all these flashback scenes and everything. Everything that happened, we're just getting.
She's making her introduction.
Yeah. And she's like, then he vanished because Laurie's writing a book. And she, because basically they're talking about like how Michael like vanished off into the night and has been gone for like 4 years basically, because she's like, he vanished, impossible perhaps, however, how everyone started looking for anything to be the boogeyman. And we're seeing like other pieces and everything like this. And then you actually made me stop in my notes right here to say, did he disappear to retire or to return? Can you please elaborate what you meant by that? Because I still don't know what you meant by that.
Okay, so I guess I'm thinking more like logically, right? Not like more of like mystical and like creep. I don't know.
Like supernatural?
Yeah, like I'm not thinking more of like a supernatural. I guess I'm thinking more of like a literal and like logical thing. My thought process on that comment was, okay, he literally got the shit beat out of him a year ago. And he had no choice but to go into hiding. Right?
Right.
But he was already up there in age.
Yes, okay, let me
finish. Let me finish. And he was already up there in age. His body has taken like a lot of hits. A lot of hits. And he's basically living in like this little sewer tunnel type
We haven't got there.
Under a thing. And it just makes me wonder, because he seems satisfied where he's at. Like he's accepted, like, okay, this is where it ends. I am too weak. I am not strong enough to do anything else. I'm just going to live out the remainder of my time here. But it never fails. He is always provoked. So that's why I'm asking, did he disappear to retire?
To die?
To retire and die of natural causes? Or was he trying to get better to return? Because nobody knows what he was doing down there all that time.
Well, no one knew he was down there. No one knew where he was at.
I know, which is just my process of just like...
Right, for sure. So the way I look...
Die, retire, or return.
The way I look at this, from what we've seen in 78, the original idea was Michael was just pure evil. And then when we get to 18, we kind of get that same idea. Kills, we start getting this idea of like the more Michael kills, the more he transcends, the more powerful he gets.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time we get to ends, and then obviously it's the the events of Corey, of what happened with Corey and the kid getting killed, was in 2019. But with when Lori's writing her books, it's 4 years from 18, so it's like in 2022. So it's like updated. It's like with the current time when the movie actually came out. So the way I see it, it's kind of like what you're saying, but I'm not thinking logical. I'm thinking more of a supernatural, at least with this timeline, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, we even see it essentially in this movie with Corey and Michael. That Michael, the way I look at it, this movie, and it makes me feel a little better thinking this way about it, is that Michael is his body is just a vessel for evil. Like essentially the evil in 18 was dormant until it got a chance to start killing and everything, getting stronger. Kills, obviously, his vessel, his body took severe amounts of damage and everything and like that, and think maybe even like his body probably got infected, a whole bunch of infections and everything like that. And so yeah, essentially he's living in this sewer or tunnel or whatever. But we will get there, but you see that possibly Michael is supernatural, or at least the entity or the evil within him is supernatural. I understand what you're saying of like thinking of logically, but we definitely do see a thing of like where this might actually be, Michael might actually be supernatural, and his body is just a vessel for that evil.
Good point.
Does that kind of clear that up?
It does. I think we both make logical points.
But that's just the way I could definitely view it with this movie. And then like I said, with the way it did seem like he was becoming more powerful in kills because he was killing so many more people.
It was very interesting to
He was like a cat by the end of 9 lives. Like they killed him and then he popped up, killed them.
Yeah, for real.
So yeah, and then at this time, Lori's writing her book and everything, and then we also see Corey getting arrested from what happens in 2019, and then Lori and Lindsay are outside. They see what's going on, and then we see people who've killed themselves. There's people like in the town that have killed themselves. Yeah, there's like a vehicle. There's like a Jeep or whatever. And there's like 2 people with bullet holes in their heads. There's people that killed themselves. Oscar's mom hung herself because her son died in 18, and then she saw his body in kills. She hung herself, and then Lori is basically like, I've bought a house and I've made peace with like my demons or my past and everything. And like she's writing a book, and it's 4 years since 18 or whatever, which I already said.
Even in hiding, Michael is still wreaking havoc over everybody in Haddonfield.
Right. She says Michael is, she even says here like Michael Myers is the personification of evil, which essentially what I was saying with Michael's body just being a vessel. So it's kind of hard for me to look past that, at least in this entry. We see Allison and Lori run down the stairs because Lori was trying to make a pie for Allison because it's some kind of tradition, and it's burning because she forgot to put on a timer, and then Allison's late for work, so she has to leave. We see Corey riding his bicycle to get to work. What's his name? Willie the Kid. He's the DJ. You hear him a lot throughout this movie, basically exploiting everything that people have been going through, talking about Michael Myers and stuff and everything like that. Yeah, so his radio station is in the background because Lori's like, not Lori, Corey's listening to it
on his way to work.
Corey works at the mechanic shop, and I think it's like a chop shop too, and it's like a junkyard. It's like everything in one.
Yeah, I think it's family owned.
Yeah, and then Corey gets a bite from Ronald. It doesn't say who Ronald is.
Ronald is his dad.
I don't think it is his dad. It could be his dad. It doesn't actually say it. But because he calls him Ronald. He doesn't even call him Dad. He just calls him Ronald. Um,
Maybe stepdad.
so Ronald Ronald seems really nice. Even at the end, towards the end, like he's like he can't like everything, all the events that happen. Corey is always late, and so he's giving him a bike to try to help him. He's like, maybe if I give you a bike, maybe you'll be able to make it to work. One time, Allison gets pulled over by some cop named Doug, which is Officer Mulaney. This old, he looks old as shit. That's what I said.
I'm telling you, it's because of the way his hair
He
is
looks
slicked
so
to the side.
old.
He looks like a freaking wiener.
He looks so old. That's funny. My notes.
Like
I
a
forgot I wrote that
dork.
down in my notes.
Because he looks so much more handsomer.
Yeah, his picture here doesn't look bad, but in the movie he
public
looks
photos.
he looks
but
so old.
I don't know. He just looks.
But he just pulls Allison over because he's actually Allison's ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, he looks so much older than Allison.
Exactly. It's a little weird. Oh well. Love is love. No, it's not. Don't redact that.
And the way he hits on her though is like so cringy.
He's a cringy, creepy weirdo. But he's basically just telling her, like, hey, you need to get your muffler fixed because it's kind of like dragging and everything before it falls off. And under the bridge, we see a foreshadowing. We see a pipe leading into the sewers.
Does the camera ends up dropping down?
Yeah, and
under
we
the
also see
bridge.
this bum like walking around too. Corey's riding his bicycle because he hasn't got his bike fixed yet to start driving. He's riding his bicycle to the confidence store, to the convenience store. He grabs a thing of chocolate milk. It's in a glass bottle. That's what I wrote. The town bully band kids show up, and then they ask Corey to get him some beer.
Weirdos of band camp. Oh my god, and they're gonna throw a tantrum because Corey's trying to keep his fucking nose clean.
Yeah, and he was like, hey, get us some beer.
And he said no. Okay. Fucking dipshit.
So they start fucking with Corey. They go up to Corey and they're like, hey, we need some beer. And Corey's like, nah, I'm good. And then they realize who Corey is, and they're like, hey, you're that guy that killed that kid. I even said this to you, like, if you knew that this guy possibly killed a kid, why would you be fucking with him? Like, don't you think if he...
My thing is they probably knew that it was just a tragic accident.
They're rich little pricks. That's what they are.
Oh, very much so.
Especially Terry. Like, you even kind of see that throughout this movie.
And they all deserved what they got.
They're assholes. They're bigger assholes than Jeremy.
He just wants to be left alone. Like, mind your business.
And then the one of them starts calling him a pedo, creepy Corey.
Oh my gosh. You know, they were like all of these people being so horrible to Corey. You know, we're pushing him. They kept pushing him.
There's even a comment later,
and they're getting him closer to towing that line.
There's even a line later. It's in my notes. Someone says it's basically like, was it the town that did this to Corey, or was he already on a dark path? It's Jeremy's dad. He's the one that says it whenever Lori's talking to him in the bar. And so Corey's getting pissed. You can see he's getting pissed, and he squeezes the bottle so hard it breaks. Because it's a glass bottle, it breaks, and it gets on Terry. So Terry pushes him down, and his hand falls into the broken glass bottle.
Glass and like gashes his hand.
And then Lori shows up and is like, hey, fuck off, basically. Like, y'all get out of here. And then the dude is like, hey, it's the Psycho and the Freak Show. Terry's like, it's the Psycho and the Freak Show.
I like the line where she goes up to Corey and is like, which one are you, the Psycho or the Freak Show?
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's like...
Jamie Lee Curtis, man, is one badass woman.
Yeah, I love
And so is Lori.
They're the same.
I know. Like, they're
one and the same.
One and the same.
Her
character's awesome.
And then because Lori's gonna take Corey to the hospital, but before they do, she pulls out a knife and she's like, "Would you like to do it or me?" And so Corey slashes the dude's tires.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about.
And then at the hospital, Allison is helping. We're at the hospital. Lori brings Corey in, and basically, she's like, "Hey, this guy, something happened. He needs help." And basically, Allison and Corey see each other, and they're like love at first sight type of thing.
Yeah, because Lori like dropped him off at the hospital.
Yeah, and so Allison is helping out Corey, and they're just like lovebirds, love at first sight. The doctor goes to start to like messing with Corey's cut on his hand, and then Corey like freaks out and kicks the little thing that has all the equipment on it, and it knocks it over, and Allison picks it up and everything, and then doctor's being an asshole to Allison. He's like talking shit to
Oh
her.
my god, listen. I would have thrown all that equipment at the doctor. I would have gotten fired. I don't care. Doctors seem to have these egos, man, that they are just better
For
than
sure.
everybody else.
For sure. And then she gets everything, and then she starts pulling glass out of his hand, and she's like, "Where do you work?" And he's like, "Yeah, I work at a mechanic shop," and they start talking about her muffler or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, it's an easy fix. Whatever, you bring it back, fix it for you."
Yeah,
Um,
she's making conversation.
yeah, she's making
It's
conversation.
just as hard for her as it is for him. You can tell.
Yeah, and then she's talking about a promotion that she's hoping to get, and then Corey is like, he goes out there and looks at her car and everything, and then she tells a stupid bicycle joke. Um, I didn't even write it down. She's like, why does the bicycle stand? Why can a bicycle not stand? Because it got too tired, or something
Yeah, and
like
he
that.
took it literally. He's like, "Oh no, it can. It has a kickstand."
Yeah, and then she tells him, he's like, ha 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 ha.
I know. It was like a ha 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 ha.
Fucking weirdo.
I know.
And then Allison's like, hey, we should hang out and go somewhere, and he's like, no, you don't want to hang out with me. Allison
Oh,
is like, Allison's talking to Lori. She's like, hey, you brought him to the hospital on purpose, and then we see Lindsay. She's in Lori's house, and Lindsay is apparently a tarot card reader. And Allison pulls the death card.
which one is Lindsay?
Kyle Richards, this one right here.
Oh. She's from the
She's from the original, and she's in Kills.
Yeah.
Because remember, she looked worse for wear after Michael didn't find her in Kills.
Yeah, wasn't she one? She was the little girl that
I literally just said that.
Huh?
She was the original girl in 878. And then apparently, like I said, she's a tarot card reader. Allison pulls the death card, and she's like, "Oh, that sucks." And then Lindsay's like, "No, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, it could be the death of one thing and like the beginning of another or whatever." Basically, this is foreshadowing Allison later on.
Really, yeah.
And then Lori is basically talking about like, you just need to find a dude or whatever, and then something show him your tits. It's like all I got out of that.
Oh, what did she say?
There's so much dialogue in this movie. This movie is dialogue heavy.
Oh, that was a good line. It was funny.
More dialogue
She
than you'll
was
get
just
from
like,
me.
rip open your shirt, show him your tits, and show him what you're made of, or something like that.
Yeah. And then we see
That's the gist of it.
then we see Corey at home. His mom is I my note. We see Corey's mom, super bitch, super controlling.
Oh, my
She's being
God.
very like
I can't stand his mom.
yeah, she deserves it.
Her husband looks so fucking miserable.
Yeah. Later on, he's like, "I hope you find love." Talking to Corey. Corey's back at the shop. He's testing out his motorcycle. He's like driving around or whatever. Allison pulls up, so like she can fix his car. He can fix her car, and then he starts showing her how to ride his bicycle. And then we see Terry pull up with his dad, and then we hear he sees Corey or whatever, and then Terry's the main bully. He's the main bully kid.
The one that's driving the car.
Yes. And then Terry's dad is like, yeah, this little shit driving on a flat, doesn't even know how to change tire and everything. That sounds like some dad I know. Being an asshole for no reason. Then and then Allison is basically like, yeah, I didn't really come here about the car. I just came here to see you. And then Lori and Frank, we see them at the store, and they're like flirting with each other and everything. Frank looks like Will Patton did not look this old in 18 or in Kills. Like, I get it was like 3-4 years later.
He looks handsome to me.
He looks old as balls. My note says
Listen.
Frank looks old as fuck.
He looks handsome to me.
Frank is talking to her basically about like how like Michael disappearing and everything that happened kind of gave me like him a second chance at life. And he's like flirting with her, talking to her, and then she mentions Corey, and he's like, yeah, Corey was a good kid. He just had a tough break with everything that happened to him.
Yeah.
And then
I honestly, I do feel like I felt so bad for Corey.
yeah, for sure,
Like even after all the bad shit he did throughout the movie, I still felt so bad for his character.
um Frank and then yeah, Lori is like, she's like, I like seeing your face, and she's like, well, I didn't mean like seeing your face. It's like old people shit. They don't know how to flirt with each other. Then we see Lori outside. She runs into some lady, and the lady's basically like, look here, bitch. You see, that's my sister, and it's Sandra, the one who got the light bulb through the neck.
I thought she died. I think we all thought she died.
She got the light bulb through the neck. She's like, she can't speak. She lost her husband. Because basically she's like, because you provoked Michael and didn't, and because she's saying Lori provoked Michael. Lori didn't provoke Michael. She didn't do anything, or whatever like that. And even my notes is like, she didn't do shit, you stupid ass bitch. That's what my note says about the lady talking shit to Lori. And then we see Frank saw what happened, and he heard everything, and he goes to her car, and he's like, hey, you okay? And then he's like, because he was talking about cherry blossoms and everything in the store, and he's like, well, maybe I can show you those cherry blossoms someday.
So sweet.
And then Allison and Corey are at a Halloween party at a bar, because he was texting Allison earlier, and that's when
he was sitting at the dinner table.
Yeah, he was sitting at the dinner table, and his mom was like, who are you texting? Who is that? Why are you hiding that? I'm like, dude.
She's overbearing. Overwhelming.
No wonder he wanted to kill her. Spoilers. Allison and Corey are at the Halloween party and bar. Corey has a scarecrow mask on, which he wears later. Allison goes to get him some drinks from Lindsay, and also we see Nick Castle as the Flasher. Mm-hmm. And then Allison's friend Deb is like talking to Lindsay because she's at the bar too. She's like, hey, you see who Allison's date is? It's Corey, the guy who killed that kid. And Lindsay is basically like Allison, you can be with whoever you want.
Yeah, she was that chick you were just talking about was talking mad shit.
Yeah, she doesn't like Corey. She hates Corey, and she's like, well, I'm with him right now.
She hates Allison.
Oh, she gets the promotion. They're on the dance floor, dancing, taking photos in the photo booth. Corey starts dancing like really fucking weird. Like he's like on the ground. It looks like he's like convulsing and everything. Like
it's part of the theme. He was just having fun. But she was going with it, like going along with it. It's fun
for sure. But like, why was he on the ground? And, like, look like he was having a seizure.
Let him have fun.
All right, I'll let him have fun.
Let him have the fun.
My note says, dancing weird as fuck on the ground, looking stupid.
Jesus.
So Corey gets up, he gets up, go get a beer, and he sees the dead kid's mom, and he's like, oh, basically sees Corey's face, he's like, oh, shit. And she's like, you having a good time? And he's like,
I'm not gonna lie, I held my breath for that scene.
And so she's like, you having a good time? And Corey's like, ah. He's like, I'm sorry. And she's like, for what? Killing my kid? And she's like, what makes you think you can be here having fun? Like, basically, you can't be here. And she's like, you fucking murderer. And she's like, evil. Like, she's like, you're evil. Like, talking mad shit and everything. Then Corey runs out. Allison's, like, chasing him down. And Corey's freaking out. And he's like, I'm not... Basically, he's like, I'm not your project. Like, you can't fix me.
Yeah, Allison's trying to comfort him.
Yeah. So that's all she's really doing. She's just trying to comfort. She's like, why? He's like, why don't you just leave me alone? And Allison is, she's like, I just see you as a person. She's like, I'm not trying to fix you. She's like, I know what everything that happened. She's like, I'm not trying to fix you. She's like, I know who you are and what's happened to her. She's like, I just see you as a person. And he's just like, people see me as a kid killer and they see you as a survivor of Michael Myers.
Yeah, he's basically saying we're not the same.
Right, and then he walks off. And then we see Corey walking on the bridge, that bridge that Allison was on earlier.
When she got pulled over.
Right. And Corey's walking down the bridge, and then the bully kids pull up, and basically the main bully kid Terry is like, he's like, handshakes and friendships. Like, I've never heard that before.
Hmm?
The Terry is talking to Corey, and like he's acting like he wants to make up. He's like, handshakes and
Provoking him.
friendships. Yeah, being an asshole. And Corey tries to just walk off, and then they trip him. Terry trips him, and starts kind of like throwing him around. His glasses fall on the ground. Billy smashes his glasses, um, and then Corey pulls out a knife, and Billy slaps it out of his hand with a drumstick because
Yeah.
um, he did that really fast. And then Corey basically talking to Terry. He's like, I know your dad treats you like shit. Doesn't mean that you can treat other people like shit.
Well, that set him off.
And then yeah, that definitely set him off. And then the kid like grabs Corey and like he throws Corey off the bridge. And then basically the other kids are like, "What the hell did you do?" He's like, "I didn't do anything." And then they drive off. And then
Well, he was trying to cover it. He was like,
he fell.
he fell. You saw it. He fell. Like he was trying to make it like as a threat. Like if you say anything else, or
Right.
like if you say otherwise to anybody else, I'm gonna, like you're next or something.
For sure. And then we see Corey getting dragged into the pipe, the sewer pipe, and the bum is watching. Allison's back at home, and like she's like slamming on the microwave, and Lori comes downstairs. She's like, "This microwave doesn't work," and Lori, because Alice like pissed off at this point because of like her little fight with Corey, and Lori's like, "What the fuck you doing?" And she's like, "Let me be mad," and so Lori's trying to comfort her, but Allison's like, "Just let me be fucking mad, dude. Like, just give me a second." And then back at the
Sound familiar?
yeah, and back at the pipe, we see Corey. He's like waking up, and basically he's like, "What the fuck?" Looking around. I wrote down here like the set design is really good. Like I did like the little set design that they had for like this little sewer area. Corey's looking around for a way out, and then he like turns around, and he sees like the opening to the pipe, and he starts walking that way, and then we finally, after it's been like 30, maybe 40 minutes into this movie. That's probably like 30 minutes. We finally see Michael fucking Myers. Michael grabs him because Michael's like on like the other side of the wall, and he grabs him by the throat.
Like he reaches through like a little hole.
Yeah, he grabs him, and Michael's looking into Corey's eyes, and then we see like everything that happened to Corey, like flashback of what happened to Corey. And so at this point, it seemed like Michael was looking into Corey's eyes and transferring evil to Corey. And he was seeing, because Michael was seeing everything and basically like transferring evil into Corey.
You know what's strange? Lori has looked into Michael's eyes before, and that didn't happen.
What?
Because you and I were talking about like the transfer of evil. Like
Right.
So and basically the evil passed on to Corey when Corey was looking into Michael's eyes.
Right. That's the
Well,
only thing I can conclude from that.
Right. Well, Lori has looked into Michael's eyes plenty of times.
Well, she says something about that later in the movie. Um, but maybe Michael. But think of it this way: maybe Michael wasn't. Maybe the evil wasn't weak like it was at that point. At that point in time with Corey, it needed a new host, or at least something to help get power back.
Right.
Um,
All right. I'll go with it.
and so, sorry. Oh yeah, Corey gets away. Looking back at the pipe, Corey gets away, and he comes out the pipe, and then the bum like jumps Corey from behind, and is basically like, "I'm Michael Myers," which you're not, you old fuck. And then he pulls a knife on Corey and tries to stab Corey, and he's like, "Go in there and give me that mask." The whole mask thing, we know it's Michael's motive. It's his, what'd you call it? What the mask is?
Sense of self.
Sense of self. which leads to Michael's downfall in this movie.
It is his number one down.
Um,
It's his kryptonite. Don't take off his fucking mask. Don't touch
and
his
so
mask. Don't do anything.
yeah, the bum pulls the knife out on Corey, and then Corey, he goes to stab him. Basically, Corey like turns it around and stabs the bum, and then he keeps stabbing him, and then he starts freaking out, and then he chunks the knife, and he goes home, and his mom is a psycho, very protective. You'll hear that every time I say something about his mom. Corey's like freaking out, looking at himself in the mirror. He's like touching himself and everything, and then like, when he starts looking in the mirror, he starts staring at himself, and he has like this blankless stare in the mirror, like looking at himself. So like that, something's definitely going on here. At the hospital, Deb is the one who got the promotion instead of Allison, and like Allison was supposed
you wonder
to get.
why.
She's fucking the doctor.
Why you gotta say it like that?
Lori is writing more useless shit in her book. That's what I'm sorry.
You are so bitter.
I wrote here because Lori's writing in her book, and so I was like, yeah, she's writing more useless shit in her book. And she's we see Corey drive up because he's looking for Allison, but Lori's looking out her window, and she sees Corey standing behind the bushes, which is basically like a homage to 1978 when Lori saw Michael standing behind the bushes.
Yeah, because Michael was creeping.
Yeah, and so
Lori saw, like, she just looked pale.
Lori ran
Like
outside.
she saw a ghost.
Yeah, Lori runs outside and then gets jump scared by Corey, who somehow made it behind her.
Yeah, that was trippy.
And then he's like, I'm waiting for Allison, or he's like, I need to see Allison. And Allison comes out, and and they're like, hey, what happened to you? He's like, I got jumped by those bully kids, basically. Like, if I was Allison, I'd be like, even like Lori, I'd be like, really? Those fucking kids? I mean, essentially, it's like 4 or 5 on 1, but still, though, like, those kids.
He couldn't put hands on them anyways. They're not even 18.
They're seniors. They could be 18.
I'm not putting my hands on no school kids.
They touched me first. Self-defense. Anyways. He's like, yeah, and he's like, hey, can we go for a walk and talk or whatever? And then like Lori, you can tell like Lori has like this weird like feeling about being around Corey at this point in time. Alice and Corey are walking, and Corey's like, I killed someone, and like at this point you said he killed someone. Maybe he's talking about the bomb, but it was the kid. And so, and then like they hold hands, and then they go to the house where the kid was killed. And he starts recapping everything that happened that night. And she's like, yeah, I heard what happened. And she's like, it sounds crazy, but it's kind of like I was looking for you. Like, she's basically telling Corey, like, somehow, some way I was supposed to, like, find you, and, like, we were supposed to be together or some nonsensical shit.
I can see that. I see how that works into the story.
Yeah. We see Lori with she goes to see Corey's mom, and they're talking, and Lori is like, you can tell at this point Lori's like, damn, this bitch is crazy. And yeah, Lori is like, I know that Corey's like had a difficult time with everything that's happened. And Corey's mom is like, look, when your boogeyman went missing, they needed another one to blame or to pinpoint as the boogeyman. So basically, Corey's mom is like, whenever Michael went missing, they started pointing fingers at my son to make it easier for them to get along with their fucking days.
Mm-hmm.
Which, essentially I do see that. Corey and Allison are at the diner talking. Basically, they're like talking everything. They're talking about burning the town down.
Well, he was basically, to me, he was just saying, whatever you want, I'll do it for you. Like, he is committing to this relationship with Allison 100%.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of, both of them, it's kind of like the only way for them to like feel.
It's
like,
kind of sweet.
It was, but like, we don't need
we
don't need romance in a Halloween movie. We need kills. The kills are fine in this movie. I do like the kills in this movie.
Okay, but do you not remember all the other scenes and all the other Michael Myers movies where Michael walks in on a couple in the middle of sex?
And they die, as they should.
Yeah, so there is some romance in all of these movies. Accept it.
Anyways, basically, yeah, they're like talking about burning the town down. Um, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry that I walked away at the party." And then the old ass cop shows up, and it's like, "Hey, why have you not returned any of my calls?" And she's like, "I'm with someone." And then basically they're like, she's like, "Hey, can you just leave?" And then
Yeah, you can tell she's just really does
yeah,
not want to talk to him.
she's like, "Hey," and she's like, "We're good. Like, can you like leave?" And then uh and they're like, "Hey, we're good. Just leave us alone." And Corey is like, "Hey, she said we're good, dude." And the dude's like, "You got a problem?" And then like he realizes who Corey is, and he's like, "Oh, I see." He's like, "You'd rather hang out with Mister Aggravated Manslaughter, um, but when you can't sleep." And then Corey gets all mad and everything, gets up, and Corey's in the dude's face, and is basically like, uh, "Fuck off." And this dude is like, "There's no problem here." And then they start talking about burning the town down again. And then Corey, they're on his bike at this point. Corey drives Allison home. And it's like, "Hey, Alice is like, hey, you want to come in?" And he's like, maybe another night. Um, this dude would not pass up. This dude passes up sex, and yeah, Corey passes up to go bang Allison to go kill this cop. Because Alice is like, "Hey, come inside. You know what they were gonna do." And he's like, "Not tonight." Little loser.
I didn't notice that.
Of course you didn't.
Well, to be fair, I was in the middle of doing
It's
homework.
fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't expose yourself. Uh, and then the whole time, I also think at this point in time, like I never thought about it because this is only my third time ever watching this movie. I've only seen this movie 3 times, but I think Corey knew the whole time that the cop was following them because the cop was following them. Like I don't think Corey knew it. Oh, I don't think Corey just figured out. I think he knew the whole time. That's why he was like another night. So I take back what I said about you, Corey, about passing up sex. Okay, I'm sorry. Um, and then Corey drives to the sewer pipe under the bridge, and the cop shows up and he's looking around looking for Corey, and he finds the bum in like a tent or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Corey jumps up behind him trying to like suffocate him, and the cop gets away. And then Corey runs into the pipe and he's like laughing and everything at him. And then the cop starts going into the tunnel. He's like, "You don't fuck with a Mulaney," and which is a callback to the 78 or not 78, the 78 flashback in Kills.
Yeah, when
When they it was like a
three
3v1 on Lonnie, and they're like, "That's what happens when you fuck with the Mulaney's." Um, so Corey runs into the pipe. And then I don't know if you notice this, but like whenever the cop's like looking around, he's looking for Corey. You actually see Michael looking like the little hermit crab in the corner. He's like hiding in like the corner. It's like really dark, but you like see him just like sitting there. Um, and he's looking around looking for Corey. I said you see Michael like hiding in the corner. Corey's standing there, and like he starts going up to Corey, and then you see Michael grabs the cop, and yeah, Michael tries to grab him, and the cop overpowers him. He kicks Michael to the ground.
Michael pretty much is like shriveled up.
Yeah, Michael, he's like all like shriveled like a little hermit crab. Um, he overpowers him, kicks Michael to the ground, and then Corey hits the cop with something, and then he turns around to Michael. He's like, "Get up, get up." He's like, "Show me how to do it. Show me." And then Michael gets up. Michael gets up, and Corey is like holding the cop or whatever, and Michael pulls his knife out of like the rock or something. You can tell it's been sitting there for a while because it's like all like rusted and everything. And then he slits the cop's throat, and then he falls down. Corey's like still holding him, and he's like, "Come on!" He's like, "Show me, show me." And then Michael starts stabbing him. Michael stabs him like one time, and then like he kind of like you can see him like he's like hulking up. Like,
yeah, you can see his like body shaking, and he's starting to stand up a little bit straighter.
Yeah,
his breathing is becoming a little bit more even.
Right. And so like it's like the
It's
supernatural
like,
thing I'm talking
yeah,
about. Like
yeah,
it's like he's feeding it.
yeah. He's like gaining more strength essentially from killing.
Right. And so he's like hulking up and then he starts stabbing him and stabbing him again and then after he finally gets done stabbing him, like Michael's like standing back up straight again and it's like he's he's getting his strength back. And
Yeah.
then Corey goes to see Allison and he's knocking on the door, Allison comes down and then they go upstairs and then he's like oh, excuse me. They don't go upstairs yet. My he's like, did Michael let you live or did you escape? And she's like, my mother saved me. And then when Lori shows up, Lori sees them going upstairs, and then
Yeah, Lori is standing outside of the house,
yeah, she's standing outside the house. She sees
looking
them.
up at Allison's window.
No, she sees them in like
Oh, there's a
the
window
living room
that
window, and she
shows the
sees them like
staircase.
yeah, she sees them like going up the stairs, and then we also see Michael standing behind a tree watching Lori.
Oh yeah.
And then when she turns to go see the tree, Michael disappears. And then when Corey wakes up, he sees the scarecrow mask that he had from the party, and
Sitting on Allison's dresser.
yeah, and then and then we're back at the hospital with Deb and Allison. Deb is basically like talking to Allison about Corey. She's like, "You're fucking him, right?" And she's like, basically, like, it's kind of cliche. She's like, the cute girl falls for the local creep, and
Who?
Deb is telling that to Allison. And then Allison is
Says the woman who's fucking an old man with a limp fucking dick.
and then Allison is basically like, Deb,
Just
do you
for
ever
money.
shut the fuck up? Like she's like, do you ever shut the fuck up? And then Allison like storms out or whatever.
Yeah, she like stops and stares and she's like, I talk way too fucking
Yeah,
much.
she's like
I'm just so obsessed with this Michael Myers bullshit and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you are such an insensitive cunt. If I was Allison, again,
I would have just stabbed her with anything that was in the room.
I would have just fucking broke her nose.
And then we see Lori sitting at the bar with Lindsay, and she's like, I see Michael's eyes in Corey. She's like, and then Lindsay's like, there's someone I want you to meet, and it's the dead kid's dad, and he's telling her he's like, yeah, Corey's a good kid. He's like, and like how people like treated him and everything, like it basically like pissed the dad off because like he didn't think that it was like Corey that did it, and he wanted to prove his wife wrong.
That it wasn't Corey.
And he wanted to prove his wife wrong, but he's like just yesterday, because like this is like 3 years after the events. He's like, just yesterday I saw him, and I pulled up to him and I was gonna apologize, to prove my wife wrong and that it wasn't him. And he's like, I looked in his eyes and he's like, it wasn't him. Like I didn't see Corey.
How long ago? So I guess I may have missed. There may be a small gap with my connection. So from the time that the boy fell off of the stairs, was there like an amount of time that happened, or was it like a day later, or?
So when the kid dies, that's in 2019.
Uh-huh.
And then whenever the movie opens, Lori's writing her book. It's 4 years from 18, so that puts the time in 2022.
2 years.
No, it's 3 years.
3.
It's 3 years.
3.
It's 3 years, and then he says like just yesterday. He's like, yesterday I saw Corey, and he's like, I would go up to him and like I was gonna talk to him, say I'm sorry and everything like that. But he's like, when I looked in Corey's eyes, he's like, I didn't see Corey.
Yeah, because
he's like that.
The dad saw him walking on the sidewalk, and the dad was driving, and saw him walking and like slowed down, rolled down the window to talk to Corey, and then Corey just like slowly
had that
bent over.
blankless stare in his eyes. And he's like, he's ain't that boy that mowed my lawn. Yeah. He's like, I looked at him in the eyes, and he's like that. He's like, that wasn't his eyes anymore. That wasn't him anymore. Like that was, at least it wasn't his eyes. Like it was Corey, but it wasn't his eyes anymore.
The eyes of a killer.
And he's like, and even this is what I was talking about earlier. The dad's like, was he on a dark path, or did the town do it to him, or like was it always there?
Yeah. So in the end, I think the dad concluded that he knows that it wasn't Corey, like Corey's intention for that to happen, but Corey is now headed down a dark path.
Path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's dangerous.
And then we see the doc with Deb, and now we know how Deb got the promotion. She's fucking the doc.
Yeah, it's fucking limp dick.
Uh,
Bitch.
Deb's walking to the bathroom, and she sees the president on the bed in its robe. And then the doc is outside getting stuff ready. He's like on like the back like porch or what. He's got a big ass house like a doctor does. He's got a pool. He's got like a whole. He's got a whole set. He's got this shabam.
He was trying to set up a romantic scene.
Yeah, he's trying to set up a romantic scene. The late
outside by the pool.
Deb is getting about to try to take a shower.
Yeah, because
and she hears a scream and like a thud, and she's like, "Hey, what's going on?" She walks outside in the back where the doc was at, and behind her you can barely see it, but Corey is stabbing the doctor with a corkscrew. And then like she like turns on a light, and then she turns around and she sees Corey stabbing the doctor with the corkscrew, and he has the scarecrow mask on. And she runs inside. He tries to chase her, and she smashes his hurt hand in the door.
Yeah, and he just like falls to the ground.
No, he doesn't fall to the ground.
Yes, he does.
No, he's just like, oh fuck or whatever. And she locks it, and then he starts banging on the door and everything, and like banging on it. And then like he stops and he's like watching her, and then like he's kind of like doing like the Michael Myers thing. He's like kind of like tilting his head, like looking at her. He's like got like Michael mannerisms at this point in time.
Yeah.
And yeah, acting like Michael. And then she goes to call the police, and then Michael like slides open this closet door, and Michael's here too. They're like tag teaming. He shows up behind her and he starts choking her, and he like runs her up against the wall, and then he pins her to the wall. It's a homage to one of the kills in 1978, whenever he kills one of the girl's boyfriends and like pins it up to the wall, and then he's like tilting his head looking at her. And at this time too, Corey like unbandages his cut hand, and he's like putting it up to the glass or whatever. Like he's like getting like strength and everything too. I'm telling you, it's like a whole bunch of like supernatural type shit going on here. And then Corey is with Allison, and they're like driving down the roads of Haddonfield, the nightlife. And they go to the radio station. They're on the roof talking about how he used to think things could go back to the way they were for him, like before the kid got killed. And like the radio station was kind of like his like sanctuary of like where he could go to just like relax and just like think of like how things used to be. And
at this point, it just seems like Corey has a new sense of freedom, purpose. He is more energized now, and he is gone wild and crazy.
Yeah. And then he's like I gotta get away from everyone. But I don't want to do it alone. And then he jumps off the roof, and Allison's like, "What are you doing? Are you insane?" And then they both get down, and the radio guy comes out, Willie the kid, and he's like, and then he realizes who Corey is. And at this point, like when Corey's on the ground, you see him like pop up, like sit up, like Michael always does. And he's like, he knows who Corey is, and he's like, "What the fuck you doing here, you ugly motherfucker?" Like he literally says that to Corey. He's like, Corey Cunningham, what you doing here, you ugly motherfucker? And like, I was like, dude, and like he's like, get out here before you scare the kids. And then the DJ's piece of shit. He's talking shit to Allison and Corey, and then he's like, get the fuck out of here before I have to beat y'all's asses. And then Allison is like, yeah, I don't want to do it anymore. She's like, let's just burn it down. It's like, I'll light the match. And then we see Lori watching them. And then Corey's back at home, and his mom is losing her shit. She slaps him in the face, kisses him on the lips. It's weird.
Well, because she's questioning him.
She's like, I can smell her on you.
Yeah, I can smell. Honestly, she's just gone fucking psycho.
For real.
And she's like, she's trying to take you away from me.
Right.
And then slaps him across the face, and then she's like, oh no, oh no. And then
she walks off.
She kisses him right on the fucking mouth, and he like shoves her back, like, what the fuck are you doing? And then she just walks off.
She walks off, and then you see Ronald. Ronald's like, he's sitting there eating.
Blank face.
He's like, I hope you find love.
Yeah. Well, because he tells his parents that he's leaving. Oh, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
His mom was like, well, get the fuck out of my house if you're going to be with her and leave and all this.
All right. And then October 31st, see Corey sleeping in the house where the kid got killed. He's sleeping in the bloodstain of the kid. And then Lori is also there watching him sleep, and like she's like in a rocking chair, walking back and forth.
Yeah, she's sitting in a
She's
chair.
like, we need to have a chit chat.
And at that point, Laurie Strode telling me that my act is gonna get
She
together
should have
so
just
fast.
killed Corey right there.
Honestly, honestly,
Well,
for real.
but at this, does she know Corey killed anyone yet? Would that have been
She has a
justifiable?
hunch, though.
Yeah, she has a hunch.
She's
She
not
has that
stupid.
sense of awareness.
Yes, she does.
Because she's
looked evil dead in the eye before.
and basically she's like, there's two kinds of evil. Um, she said a whole fucking dialogue about the first one, and then she's like, the second one is more dangerous because it's like a virus, and we don't know it's infected us. Basically, it's like a virus, like COVID, and like we may not know like it infected us or whatever. And he's like, am I a bad person? And she's like, we're both fucked up. And then she's like, you can't have Allison, and she's like, stay away from her.
She's offering to get him help.
Yeah, she's like, I can get you the help you need. Just stay away from Allison.
Just let me help
And he's
you.
like, you started this shit. You're the one to blame. He's not wrong. She brought him into the picture.
Yeah, he's like, you invited me in.
Right.
Not the other way around.
And he's like, if no one can have her, if I can't have her, no one will.
That right there is not a good sign. So Lori's pretty much already like, all right, it's a done deal. You're a fucking psycho.
Yeah, and then at this point, Corey's like not looking at Lori anymore because Lori's like Batman here for a second, or Michael Myers, and he's like, let her live her life, and she has me now, and he's like, you should give in and surrender. The feeling you had when you first looked into his eyes, that you secretly hope that that he comes back for you. You're the freak show, Lori. He said, yeah, back for you, and you're the freak show, Lori. And then at this point, Lori is gone. Like, he like looked up or whatever, and he's like looking for Lori, and she's like just disappeared like a fucking specter, like Michael Myers. And then we see Corey driving around, and Allison is calling Allison, and he's like, hey, we need to leave. He's like, meet me at like the diner at 9. We need to talk. Your grandma, she wants to kill me. And she's like, what's going on, whatever. And yeah, he's like, she wants to kill me. And Corey's back at the pipe, and he finds Michael, and he's like, he's like, you got something I fucking need. And Michael's just standing there, like just chilling. Whenever he comes in there, and he starts fighting Michael, and he's like, yeah, he's like, you got something I need. And they both start struggling to fight each other. Michael's like throwing him on the ground and everything.
Yeah, and Corey's putting up a fight. And he's just like, you're
Michael's
just a fucking man in a mask.
Yeah, because Michael's not at like he's not like
max capacity.
He's not all hulked up and roided out right now. He's still very weak at this point, and he's, yeah, like you said, Corey gets the mask off of him. And he's like, you're just a man in a mask. And which that it kind of seems like evil intent, like kind of like what I was saying with him possibly just being, his body just being a vessel. Like, you're just a man. Even later on, Lori's like, you're just a man.
But that was the evil talking to Michael,
right,
saying you're useless now.
Yeah, right, for sure.
That's interesting.
That's the way I see it, and that's the way I interpret the movie. That's the part that's the part that's interesting to me with this movie.
It's a good way to see it.
And then we see Michael, like, Corey leaves, and you see Michael pop up, and then he like turns, and he's like, all right, you got my fucking mask now.
Yeah, you see him like laying on the ground, and he does like, y'all know how
he
Michael
pops up,
Myers,
and then he does
like,
that slow turn.
Like, he's laying on the ground, he got put on his ass, and he's like sitting up and just
all right.
Oh yeah, that's my sign.
And then we see the bully kids at the store. Psycho wrote on the Terry's car, and then Corey's standing there looking at him, and then he drives off, and then like they start going after him. And then Allison is talking to Lori, and Lori is like, you're going on a wonderful trip, aren't you? And Lori's like, you can't go with him, Allison. I see what I saw in Michael in him. And she's like, he's not Michael Myers. You are.
That was a low fucking blow.
And she's like, you're obsessed with death. And she's like, Corey is on a dark path, and you have to believe me. And she's like, I do believe you, but all of this is because of you. Like, basically everything that has happened, she's like, it is because of you. And then
She's not wrong.
they're at the mechanic shop, chop shop, junkyard, whatever the hell it is. The bully kids pull up, and they get out, and they're like,
At night.
yeah, it
At night.
yeah, at night, yeah, at night, yeah.
So at this point, I think Corey's just tying up loose ends before skipping town.
Yeah, for sure. And then the bully kids pull up, and they get out, and they're like, hey, Corey, come out. And then they you see the fence close behind them. Like, they don't see it, but the fence closes. And they see his bike, and Terry's like, hey, I got an idea. He's like, we're gonna tie this up to the car, and we're gonna drag it till there's nothing left. Stupid ass. That's something a stupid ass kid would do. Like, for sure. A immature, stupid ass kid would do. And then he's telling Billy to go get the car. And then they're like, hey, Billy, where the fuck are you? And then they go over to the car, and you see Billy has his drumstick in his eyeball. And then the girls see this truck headlights come on. And the girls are running towards the fence. Both girls get over the fence. One girl, like, runs off to the side. And then the other girl, Margot, she gets ran over. And, like, the fence is, like, sitting on top of her. And he's running on. And Ronald is at the shop, I guess, because he doesn't want to be at home with Corey's mom, which I don't blame him. He's at the shop, and Terry goes up and he's like, help. And then the other girl runs up to Margot. I don't know the other girl's name, but she runs up to Margot, who got ran over. And we see Corey get out of the truck with a pipe wrench, and he goes up behind her, the other girl, and he kills her, essentially. It's kind of off screen. You just see him, like, hit her, but you see her later and she's dead. Ronald gives Terry a gun. Like, why the fuck would you give this stupid ass kid a gun? And he's like, hey, stay here. And then Ronald goes outside and he sees the girl trapped under the fence. And then at this point, you see Corey doesn't have the mask on anymore, and he's like just holding the Michael Myers mask. And he looks up and he's like, Corey? Like, he's like confused, like basically he's like, why the fuck are you doing this? But essentially at this point in time, he didn't want Corey to get killed either, because like he sees Terry comes outside and he's like, I got you, motherfucker. And then he goes to shoot him, or he's about to shoot, and then Ronald gets up. He's like, no, and he shoots Ronald right in the face.
Dude, that homie had like good aim.
For
straight in the middle of the fucking forehead too.
For being a spoiled ass kid, he had good aim. But he just couldn't hit Corey then, huh? And then Corey, like Michael Myers
Corey used him as a shield.
Like Michael Myers, though, Corey is like vanished, like off to the side, or whatever. And then Ronald runs up. He runs up to Margot, and he's like, because he sees Stacy, he's like, Stacy's dead, and then and then at this point in time, he's like, Stacy's dead, and then Margot's like, you're dead too, like.
He was like, what?
What?
Too late.
And then Corey hits him with the end of the gun, like the butt end of the gun. And then you see him turning on a torch.
Oh,
and then fucking just torches his skull right there next to Margot. And then you see him fucking squash Margot's head.
Just like Michael.
Yeah, just like Michael. And then he drives off.
Stomping on his head.
He drives off.
Stomps on her head.
And then Corey's at his house. In Corey's house, you see Michael. Whoops. I mean Corey. Crack myself up. Pick up the...
Is that what you put in your notes?
And then you see a knife, and Corey picks it up. And then his mom turns, and then, she gets killed. We should have seen this whole scene. She should have had the most brutal death.
Yeah.
But I think Billy the Kid, honestly. No. I think Billy the Kid might definitely have one of the worst. And then Corey pulls up to the radio station. He's walking outside, and you see him actually like walking. You see him walk past the window of where the radio host is at. And then in the background, you see that Diana chick, the receptionist, she gets murdered. Station. And then then the DJ sees Corey in the window, like the reflection. He turns around and he comes in. He starts smashing his face into the record and everything. And then like his mouth is like all gaped open.
His jaw is like completely broken.
It's like broke. His tongue is like sticking out. And Corey grabs grabs his a pair of scissors and cuts his tongue off. And so he's done, and then his tongue is like going on the record player, and it's like skipping every time the
And
tongue
that's
hits
like
it.
on live broadcast
Yeah, it's on live
radio. I bet
broadcast.
people heard him getting killed.
And then Allison is at the diner waiting for Corey. She tries to like text him and call him and
Like,
everything.
where you at?
And then Corey calls her, and it's like, I'm sorry. She's like, just come home, please. And then Lori's like, what I'm about to say in my notes sounds very boring, but like the scene was like, this whole scene was like very like drawn out. I feel like it wasn't like in a bad way, but it was like very drawn out and just like Lori's doing this. Lori is walking around her house, looking around, turning out lights. She had a bottle of alcohol. She's in her office. She lights up a jack-o'-lantern, pulls herself a drink. She's looking at her book pages, opens a safe, pulls out a revolver. She calls the cops, says, I would like to report a suicide. And it's a very drawn-out, dramatic scene.
It is. But like in reality, now thinking back, she's setting.
Yeah, she said because somehow,
Corey
some way,
up.
she knows
She's
that
setting.
Corey is in the house.
Yeah.
But later on, she can't tell that
Lori
Michael Myers is
fucking
in the house. Stop. And then, yeah, she's like, I would like report a suicide. And then Lori puts the gun to her head, and then you like see her walk off the camera view behind the door, and blows her brains out. End of the movie. I'm just kidding.
You wish.
Yeah, I did. No, that would have been a weird ass way to end the movie.
That would be a horrible way to end the fucking movie.
And then you see a hand push the door open, and Lori's standing there with a gun, and she's like, "You really think I would kill myself?"
She actually shot.
She shot the jack-o'-lantern. You obviously knew it was the jack-o'-lantern. My notes, that was just a joke. She shot the jack-o'-lantern. And she's like, "You really think I'd kill myself?" And Corey was like, and she shoots Corey a few times, and he falls off the stairs onto the
Twice
ground.
on the left shoulder.
And then when Lori gets downstairs, for some reason she shoots the other two bullets into the wall, and because she doesn't want to kill Corey. Like, I don't think she wants to actually kill Corey.
No, she's trying to.
And then she's like, "You came here to kill me, so do it." Like, she's giving Corey a chance to like grab the knife. She's like, "Kill me." And then at this point, because Allison's car is like rumbling because of the muffler, like you can hear it. And Corey hears Allison pull up, and then he starts laughing, and he's like, "I told you, if I can't have her." He doesn't finish the sentence because he's like, "If I can't have her," and stabs himself in the jugular. And then Lori is like, no. And then Allison comes in at the same time that Lori's holding a knife in her hand, and Allison
makes it look like
that Lori killed him. Yeah. And Allison's is like, "What the fuck did you do? Like, what did you do?" And she's like crying, and then over Corey, and then Lori is crying because Allison is like mad at her now or whatever. Cause like, and then Allison leaves. Lori is in her kitchen, sitting on the floor crying, and she looks at the gun. There's no bullets in it, and then she looks over to her right, and she sees that her back door is open. And then you see someone pick up the mask. Michael Myers is in the house. He came back for his mask. His sense of self, as you have said over these past few episodes. And then Lori starts hearing stuff like Corey is somehow still alive. He's trying to fight Michael. Like, he's like, "No, that's my mask, or whatever." And then Michael grabs Corey, and basically before he breaks his neck, he's like looking to it in his eyes, like basically taking the evil back. And then he snaps his neck, and then Allison is driving down the road, and then she sees the radio station tower is on fire, and then she gets a call from Frank. He's like, "Hey, where's Lori? We just got a call, report of a suicide." And then basically Allison is on her way back, and then Michael's walking around the house, and he's looking for Lori, and she's hiding. She's hiding. My notes. Our epic, overemphasized, over-marketed fight is about to go down. That's what my notes say.
Over-marketed.
Over-marketed. And then there's like a little thing like swinging, like Lori's like in her pantry or whatever, and it's swinging, and Lori grabs it, and Michael hears it, and he walks up to the door, and Lori sees a fire extinguisher, and Lori actually turned the microwave to like go off, and so when he's about to open up the door, the microwave goes off, and then he turns and looks, and then Lori comes out of the door and hits him in the face with the fire extinguisher, and then excuse me, yeah, hits him in the face with the fire extinguisher, and he starts throwing her around, choking her, like he's throwing her around, throws her on the ground. He starts choking her with his boot, and then she gets him off somehow, and then he grabs her and he's like holding her hand, and like they turn on like the disposal to the garbage disposal, and he's trying to stick her hand in it, and then like he's about to stick her hand in it, and then she like slams her head back into his and knocks him back, and then he grabs her and throws her over the island in the kitchen, and then she grabs a crochet needle, homage to 78. And then instead of, she tries to go to stab him, but he grabs it and he's like pushing it into her face, and then like he had a chance to kill her here, but she starts trying to take his mask off, and like she gets the mask off like to his like lips, and then he stopped choking her or pushing that in, and to put his mask back on. And this is where the downfall of Michael Myers starts coming.
It's about damn time.
And then she grabs his knife and she stabs his hand into the island. So one of his hands is like pinned in, and he's reaching for her. And she overpowers him, and like she like jumps on him and like pushes him down onto the island. And then she's like holding him and grabs another knife from the island, and she stabs it. She pins his other hand down, and then she grabs her fridge and slams it onto his leg. Basically like stay right there.
Breaks his leg.
And then he gets his hand up with the knife in it, and then she slams it back down, and then she gets a frying pan, and then she's like basically like nailing him down into the island to where he can't get up. And because like Michael like sits up essentially whenever that happens, before she starts nailing him down. And then she takes then she gets the
being crucified to the kitchen island.
And then she gets the knife from that Allison used to stab Michael in 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one that Allison gave Lori and kills, it's the same knife that she pulls out, and she like stabs him in the side of the rib. Why don't you just stab him in the face? Essentially. But what she does to him is much worse, I feel like. Yeah, but she stabs him in the side of the ribs, and then she takes off his mask, and she's like talking to Michael, saying all this shit, and she's like, "You're just a man who's about to stop breathing." And she slits his throat, and then Michael pulls his hand out of the blade, and his hand is like split in half,
like cut straight in
but
half,
he's like
down
choking
the
her.
middle,
He's like still choking her
with the same hand.
Yeah, with the same hand that's split in half.
That's insane.
And oh yeah, and then at this point in time, like we saw Corey's memories playing, we start seeing Lori's memories playing. And so at this point in time was Michael transferring. It was like, I think Michael was transferring the evil over into Lori, to a new vessel. And she's like, do it, or whatever. Like basically it was I felt like she was like kind of like giving in. And then Allison shows up, and then she fucking snaps his arm in half. And then she's like, "I'm not gonna let that happen to you." And then they slit his wrist, and then like Michael's bleeding out.
That's what she was talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let.
Yeah, she's like, "I'm not gonna let that happen to you," because she knew Corey was fucked up.
She finally put it together.
And then yeah, they slit his wrist, and then the cops show up, and then Frank shows up, and he sees them, and is like, "Michael," and yeah, and he's like, "Michael?" And like, of course it's fucking Michael. And then Lori's like, she's like, "He's dead." And then Alice is like, "He's not dead enough." And
Damn right.
Well, okay, she had some brains there. And then they tie Michael onto the top of their car, and then the cops are like, "This isn't how we do this." And then we got Sheriff Barker pulls up, his fucking only scene in the movie. He shows up, and the cops are like, "This isn't what we do." And he's like, "Tonight it is." He's like, "Tonight we do," or whatever he says. Yeah. I feel like the sheriff should have at least played a bigger part or something in this movie. And then Frank is like, "It's time for Haddonfield to start healing." And then they're all driving through the town, and then we see everyone's like seeing like Michael like being on top of this car, and then everyone's like driving to the mechanic shop, the junkyard, and then people are walking. This is where we also see Julian like walking down the street and everything. And then like Michael was basically being like a bodyboard. Like everyone's like carrying him like to like the shredder.
Like,
Because there's a big
they're
ass
body surfing him.
yeah, they're body surfing, and there's a shredder that's for like junk that it like crumbles up junk and stuff and metal and everything. And then Lori has him, and then she's like slowly pushing him, and then we see fucking Michael Myers.
Your favorite part of the movie.
No, definitely not. We see Michael Myers. Lori pushes him into the shredder, and we see Michael like just like turn into mush. And
I loved it.
Michael Myers is fucking dead.
Yes.
And
about damn time, y'all.
Lori is back to writing her book, and then we also see Allison.
Finally getting closure.
Allison is like,
Haddonfield.
Allison is like, she's like, you were right about Corey. Like, I know he killed those people, and she was like, he was consumed by evil. And then we see Allison leaving Haddonfield. And then Lori is still writing in her book, in her final line, she's like, I've said goodbye to my boogeyman. But the truth is, evil doesn't die. It changes shape. And then she closes her laptop. The doorbell rings. She answers. It's Frank. He left her a fruit basket or vegetables or something. He's like, I just wanted you to know that I was thinking about you. And that, and to thank you for what you did. And Lori's like, why don't you just tell me what you were saying about those cherry blossoms? And then in Lori's house, in her office, we see Michael's mask, and the movie ends. Like, what the fuck is this shit show of a movie? The last 10 minutes, your main characters are actually the main characters. The end. Halloween fucking ends. Holy shit. This is our longest episode by... we'll get better about, more of a flow and everything, but... We're still early on figuring everything out or whatever, but I had a lot to say about this shit show of a movie. So yeah, that's Halloween Ends. And so before we give our ratings, it was actually Kayla's idea to, from here on, if they have ratings for movies, like we're going to do the IMDb score and at least the Rotten Tomatoes score. But Rotten Tomatoes is a piece of shit. I'll just say that. Rotten Tomatoes sucks.
They're biased.
They're very biased, I feel like. But for IMDb, the movie got a 5 out of 10. And Rotten Tomatoes got a 40%. Okay, so before I give my response, what are your ratings for the movie?
What's that one? Metacitric?
That one doesn't matter.
A Metacritic?
Yeah, it's like a Metacritic.
47 out of 100?
Yeah, it's weird how they grade it.
God.
But
how well did this movie, like, was this... Oh, never mind. It was in the middle of a pandemic. I guess it didn't really sell out.
Obviously.
Theaters.
But okay, so remember, for Halloween Ends, for 18 and kills, you gave a 4 out of 10 because we do out of 10 on scale. So what do you give this movie?
10/10.
10? No, you fucking don't.
Yes, I do.
You don't fucking mean that.
Yes, I do.
Oh my! I gotta find a new host. I gotta find a new co-host. Come on, be realistic. It is not a 10 out of 10.
Yes, it is.
Is it just because the ending scene?
It was good closure.
Just because the ending scene, you're giving it a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Be realistic here.
I will give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay,
You are just so bitter. You are so bitter.
Okay.
But...
Fine,
a really good means to an end.
I can live with the 7 out of 10. People, please don't hurt her or don't be mad at her. That's what I meant to say.
The story had a nice flow. It moved quickly.
There was just,
and that's what I appreciated.
All right, whatever.
It was more of a story based.
Whatever. I think I gave 18 a 8 out of 10 because I said I have a soft spot for 18. And I gave Kills because I think after watching it, I was just like, I don't know if I really like this movie as much anymore. And I gave it a 6 out of 10, I think. For this movie alone, I don't want to... Like I said, I don't love it. I don't hate it. So I think I'm going to be in the middle. I think I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I don't love it. I don't hate it. So I'm like kind of like somewhere in the middle with it. It's not the worst thing I've seen.
I know. This one was a hard one for you to watch. I remember. I
But
remember.
yeah, I'll give it a
You
5 out
had
of
so
10.
many emotions after watching this for the first time.
But yeah, that is our final thoughts. We went through the whole movie. Next week, our episode will not drop on a Wednesday. It will drop on actual Halloween. We're gonna drop it on the 31st, and we're doing Totally Killer, which I cannot wait to see. It will actually be my third time only seeing Totally Killer, but I absolutely love that
Such
movie.
a good movie.
I love that movie. It's on Prime. You can go check it out. And then in that episode, I will tell our plans for November and December. I already have them planned out for us. And we just really hope that y'all enjoyed it. You can find us on TikTok at What the Fright, and Instagram at What the Fright. And like I said, we finally came to a end with Halloween Ends, the David Gordon Green trilogy. In my opinion, 18 is the superior film out of all the three. I think it has the best story and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it said we did this just because, or at least I chose to do this because it's the most controversial, fresh on the mind trilogy or entries into the franchise. And so, with that being said, we will see y'all next week, or y'all will hear from us next week with Totally Killer dropping it on the 31st. And we just really hope that y'all have a great day. And, I'm your host, Buddy, and we thank y'all so much.
Bye, guys. Thank you for listening.